My name is Margaret Chen. I'm 67 years old, a widow, a retired accountant, and for 5 years, I lived in what my daughter-in-law called Kevin's house. Except it wasn't Kevin's house. It was mine. Always had been. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. Let me start with breakfast. It was a Tuesday morning in late September. Autumn in Seattle. Gray skies, rain threatening, the kind of morning that makes you want to stay in bed with coffee and a book. But I was up at 6 a.m., like always, making breakfast. For my son, Kevin, and his wife, Brittany. Like always, pancakes, from scratch, with fresh blueberries from the farmer's market, scrambled eggs, bacon, fresh squeezed orange juice, coffee brewed strong the way Kevin liked it. I'd been doing this for 5 years, every morning, cooking, cleaning, existing quietly in the corner of what everyone believed was Kevin and Brittany's home. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It helps others find these stories. That morning, Brittany had guests, 3 of her friends from work. They'd shown up the night before for what Brittany called a girls' night. Drinking wine, watching movies, staying up late laughing loudly enough that I couldn't sleep. I didn't complain, it was their house. I was just living there, or so everyone thought. At 7:30, I started plating breakfast. The kitchen opened into the living room. I could see the 4 women on the couch, hair messy, still in pajamas. Hungover but energetic, in that way young women get when they're together. I brought out the first plate, set it on the coffee table. Breakfast is ready? One of the friends, a blonde woman named Ashley, looked at the plate, picked up a fork, took a bite of pancake, made a face. Ugh, dry. The other women laughed, not polite laughter, real laughter, the kind that says someone just said something genuinely funny. Brittany smirked. I told you, the old woman can't cook. I don't know why Kevin makes her try. More laughter. I stood there, holding the other plates, watching my daughter-in-law, the woman my son had married 5 years ago, mock me in front of her friends, in my own home. Brittany, I said quietly, would you prefer something else? She didn't even look at me, just waved her hand dismissively. No, it's fine. I'll just eat the bacon. At least that's pre-cooked from the package. The women laughed again. One of them, a brunette whose name I'd forgotten, said, You're so patient, Britt. I don't know how you deal with this. Deal with what? Brittany asked, playing innocent. Having your mother-in-law living with you. That must be so awkward, like no privacy. Brittany sighed dramatically. Oh my God, you have no idea. She's always here, always cooking these terrible meals, always hovering, always just existing. The blonde Ashley asked, Why do you let her live here? Isn't it your house? Technically Kevin's, Brittany said, but yeah, basically we support her. She has nowhere else to go. Her husband died years ago, left her with nothing. So Kevin felt obligated. Another friend chimed in, That's so generous of you guys. Brittany nodded solemnly. I know. It's basically charity, but Kevin's a good son, even if it means I have to deal with her. Charity, the blonde repeated, laughing. How noble. They all laughed, clinked their coffee mugs together, toasting to Brittany's supposed generosity. I stood in the doorway between the kitchen and living room, holding plates of food, listening to every word. Brittany glanced at me, saw me standing there, our eyes met. She thought I'd cry, or argue, or slink away embarrassed. Instead, I smiled. A small smile, calm, controlled. I'll just leave these on the counter, I said quietly. Help yourselves. I set the plates down, started clearing the dishes from the coffee table, the half-eaten dry pancakes, the untouched eggs, the bacon they'd actually eaten. Brittany watched me, smirk still on her face. Thanks, Mom. That's sweet. The way she said Mom, Not affectionate, not respectful, mocking. Like calling me mom was a joke we were all in on. You're welcome, I replied, still calm, still smiling. I finished clearing, wiped down the coffee table, picked up empty wine glasses from last night, carried everything to the kitchen. The women were back to talking, already forgotten about me, about the old woman who cooked terrible food, who they had to tolerate, who existed in their space out of charity. I washed the dishes, dried them, put them away, wiped down the counters until they gleamed. Then I took off my apron, folded it neatly, hung it on its hook, and I went upstairs to my room, the small guest bedroom at the end of the hall, the room where I'd been sleeping for 5 years. In my own house, I closed the door, sat on the bed, and pulled out my phone. I had 3 calls to make. The first call was to my lawyer, Robert Patterson. I'd known him for 30 years. He'd handled my husband Frank's estate, had been encouraging me for years to do something about the Kevin and Brittany situation. Mr. Patterson, it's Margaret Chen. Yes, I'm fine. Listen, I'm ready to move forward with the eviction. Today. Yes, I'm sure. I have all the documents. The title deed in my name, the mortgage statements, the utility bills, bank records showing every payment I've made for 5 years. Yes, I understand they have 48 hours. That's fine. How quickly can you get here? 2 hours? Perfect. Yes, I'll be here. Thank you. I hung up, took a breath, made the second call. My bank. Yes, this is Margaret Chen, account number 784-96213. I need to cancel the automatic payment for the mortgage at 1524 Maple Street. Yes, I understand the loan will go into default. That's not my concern anymore. I'm the deed holder. I've been making payments on behalf of someone else. I'm stopping, effective immediately. Yes, I'm certain, thank you. The third call was to the utility company. Yes, hello. I need to disconnect services at 1524 Maple Street. Electricity, water, gas, all of it. Yes, I'm the account holder. I've been paying the bills. I want service terminated effective tomorrow morning. Yes, I understand people are living there. That's not my problem anymore, thank you. I set the phone down, sat on my bed, looked around the room, small, plain, just a bed, a dresser, a nightstand, the bare minimum. I'd been living like a guest in my own home for 5 years. 5 years I'd watched Brittany redecorate my living room. 5 years I'd cooked meals that were criticized. 5 years I'd cleaned bathrooms I wasn't supposed to use. 5 years I'd tiptoed around in my own space so I wouldn't disturb them. 5 years of being called a burden, charity, the old woman who Kevin's family supported out of obligation. When the truth was, I'd been supporting them. Let me explain how this happened. How I ended up being a stranger in my own home. My husband Frank died 5 years ago. Heart attack. He was 62. Too young. We'd been married 37 years. Had built a life together, this house, our savings, our plans for retirement. When he died, I was devastated. Lost. Kevin was my only child. He'd always been close to me. Supportive. A good son. At the funeral, Kevin pulled me aside, said, "Mom, you shouldn't be alone in that big house. It's too much for you. Brittany and I have been talking. We think you should come live with us for a while, just until you're feeling better." I was grateful, overwhelmed, grief-stricken. I said yes. We sold their apartment, moved into my house. Just temporarily, Kevin said, until we save up for our own place. Except they never saved up, never left. And somewhere along the way, the narrative changed. It went from, Mom is staying with us while she grieves, to, we're letting Mom live with us because she can't afford her own place. Brittany started telling people that Kevin owned the house, that it was his inheritance from his father, that they were being generous by letting me stay. Kevin never corrected her, never told the truth. Just let people believe that he was the provider. the successful son taking care of his aging mother, and I went along with it because I didn't want to embarrass Kevin, didn't want to cause problems, didn't want to be difficult. The old woman who was just grateful to have a place to stay. But the truth was different. The truth was on paper, in legal documents, in bank statements, in years of receipts. The house 1524 Maple Street, Seattle, Washington, was in my name. Had been since Frank and I bought it 32 years ago. Title deed, Margaret and Frank Chen. When Frank died, it became Margaret Chen, sole owner. The mortgage, which had 23 years left, was in my name. I'd been making payments every month, $875 for 5 years, not Kevin. Me. The property taxes, me. $3,400 a year. The homeowner's insurance, me. $1,900 a year. The utilities, electricity, water, gas, internet, trash collection, me. Averaging $320 a month. The groceries, me. About $500 a month. I'd been keeping track, had spreadsheets, receipts, bank statements, 5 years of documentation showing exactly how much I'd paid to keep this household running. Total, approximately $98,000 that I'd spent on my house for my son and daughter-in-law, while they told everyone they were supporting me. Kevin made decent money, software engineer at a tech company, maybe $70,000 a year. Decent, but not amazing. Brittany worked in marketing, made about $55,000. Again, decent. Together they should have been able to afford their own place, save money, build a life. But they didn't, because they didn't have to, because I was covering everything, and they'd convinced themselves and everyone else that they were doing me a favor. I sat in my room, thought about all of this, all the money, all the lies, all the years of being treated like a burden in my own home, and I thought about Brittany downstairs, laughing with her friends, calling me the old woman, saying I cooked terrible food, saying she couldn't stand me, saying I existed there out of charity. Charity. I almost laughed, would have laughed if it weren't so pathetic. So insulting, so absolutely infuriating. For 5 years I'd been patient, understanding, accommodating. I'd told myself that Kevin needed time, that Brittany was young and adjusting, that eventually things would get better. They hadn't gotten better, they'd gotten worse. Brittany had gotten more comfortable, more entitled, more openly disdainful. And Kevin? Kevin had let it happen, had enabled it, had stood by while his wife disrespected his mother, in his mother's house, using his mother's money. This morning was the breaking point, the final straw, the moment when patience became stupidity, when understanding became doormat behavior, when accommodating became enabling. I was done. Done being quiet. Done being grateful. Done pretending this situation was anything other than what it was. Me being used, disrespected, taken advantage of. In my own home, so I made my calls, set things in motion, and waited. Downstairs, I could hear the women laughing, music playing, Brittany's voice carrying up the stairs. And then she tried to make lasagna. It was like eating cardboard. I had to order pizza. More laughter. I looked at the clock. 9:47 a.m. Mr. Patterson said he'd be here by noon. 2 hours and 13 minutes. I could wait 2 hours and 13 minutes. I'd waited 5 years. What was 2 more hours? I spent the time packing, not much to pack. I'd been living minimally, clothes, toiletries, photos of Frank, my laptop, important documents, 1 suitcase. That's all I had in this house, in my own house, because I'd been living like a guest, a temporary visitor, someone who might be asked to leave at any moment. How ironic. At 11:30, I heard Kevin come home, front door opening, his voice, "Hey, babe, how's the girls' morning?" Brittany, "Great. Your mom made breakfast. It was inedible, as usual, but we survived." Kevin laughed. actually laughed at his mother being mocked. I sat on my bed, listened, wondered if he'd come upstairs, ask how I was, noticed that I'd been in my room for 3 hours. He didn't, just joined the women in the living room, started telling some story about work, became part of the group that was having a great time in my house, on my dime, at my expense. At 11:58, I heard a vehicle pull into the driveway. Heavy. Not a car. Something bigger. I looked out my window, saw a white moving truck, large enough for a one-bedroom apartment, and behind it, Mr. Patterson's silver BMW. I picked up my suitcase, took one last look around the small room I'd been living in, the guest room in my own house, and I went downstairs. The women were still in the living room. Kevin had joined them, all 5 of them. Relaxed, comfortable, having a lovely morning. They didn't notice me at first. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, suitcase in hand, watching them. Then the doorbell rang. Everyone looked toward the door. Brittany frowned. "Who's that?" "I'll get it," I said. All eyes turned to me, saw the suitcase, confusion on their faces. "Mom?" Kevin asked. "What's with the suitcase? Are you going somewhere?" I smiled. "No, Kevin, I'm staying. You're going somewhere." I opened the door. Mr. Patterson stood there, tall, distinguished, in his 60s, wearing an expensive suit, carrying a leather briefcase. Behind him, 2 moving company workers, young men in uniforms, waiting for instructions. "Good morning, Mrs. Chen," Mr. Patterson said formally. "Good morning, Robert. Please come in." He entered. The moving company workers stayed outside. Brittany and her friends were staring. "What's going on?" Brittany demanded. "Kevin, who is this?" Mr. Patterson turned to face the room, opened his briefcase, pulled out a folder. "My name is Robert Patterson. I'm an attorney with Patterson and Associates. I represent Mrs. Margaret Chen, the owner of this property. I'm here to serve an eviction notice." The room went silent. Complete silence. Like someone had pressed a mute button. Brittany blinked. "What?" Mr. Patterson pulled out documents, began reading in his professional lawyer voice. "This is to inform Kevin Chen and Brittany Chen that they are required to vacate the premises at 1524 Maple Street, Seattle, Washington, within 48 hours. Failure to comply will result in legal action and forcible removal by law enforcement." Kevin stood up, face white. "Mom, what is this?" "It's exactly what it sounds like," I said calmly. "You're being evicted from my house." Brittany laughed, a sharp, disbelieving laugh. "Your house? This is Kevin's house." Mr. Patterson handed her a document. "This is the title deed. As you can see, the property is owned by Margaret Chen, sole owner, has been since 2003. Brittany snatched the document, read it. Her face changed. Confusion, shock, realization. But Kevin said. All eyes turned to Kevin. He looked at the floor, said nothing. "Kevin," Brittany's voice rising, "tell them this is your house. Tell them this is some mistake." Kevin finally looked up, looked at me, then at Brittany. "It's not a mistake. It's Mom's house. It's always been Mom's house." "What?" The friends were frozen, watching. This had just become the most entertaining drama of their lives. Brittany turned to me, face red. "You're lying. This is Kevin's house. He inherited it. You've been living here because we let you, because Kevin felt sorry for you." I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, turned the screen toward her. "These are the mortgage payments, $875 every month, for 5 years, from my account to the bank for this house." I swiped. "These are the utility bills, electricity, water, gas, all in my name, all paid by me." Swiped again. "Property taxes, homeowners insurance, HOA fees, all me." Swiped again. grocery receipts, $500 a month, on average. All me. I looked at Brittany. Her mouth was open, speechless. So when you told your friends this morning that you support me, that I'm charity, that you're being generous by letting me live here? I smiled. You were wrong. I've been supporting you this whole time in my house with my money. One of the friends, the quiet one who hadn't said much, whispered, "Oh my God." Brittany's face went from red to white. Kevin, is this true? Kevin couldn't look at her. Yes. You lied to me? You told me this was your house. You told me your mom was living here because she couldn't afford her own place. I I didn't think it mattered. She was letting us stay. You thought what? That you'd just lie about who actually owned the house? Who actually paid for everything? While I told everyone that we were being generous, that we were supporting her? The friends were exchanging glances. Uncomfortable, this had stopped being entertaining. Now it was just awkward. Ashley, the blonde, stood up. I think we should probably go. No, I said. Please stay. You should hear this. You should know the truth. Since you were all laughing this morning about how terrible my cooking is, about how I'm just some old woman who exists here out of charity. Ashley sat back down, face red. I turned to Brittany. For 5 years, I've lived in this house, my house like a guest. I've cooked meals you criticized. I've cleaned spaces you told me not to use. I've stayed in a tiny guest room while you redecorated my living room. I've been quiet, accommodating, patient, because I loved my son and wanted him to be happy. Kevin started, Mom, I'm not finished, I said firmly. For 5 years, I've listened to you tell people that you're supporting me, that I'm a burden, that Kevin's being noble by letting me stay. And I never corrected you, never told people the truth, because I didn't want to embarrass you, didn't want to cause problems. I looked at Brittany. But this morning, when you mocked me in front of your friends, when you said you can't stand me, when you called my cooking terrible and laughed about how I'm always just existing, that was the final straw. Brittany opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I didn't mean. You did, I interrupted. You meant every word, and you know what? That's fine, because now you don't have to stand me anymore. You don't have to tolerate my terrible cooking. You don't have to deal with me existing in your space. Mr. Patterson stepped forward. As stated in the eviction notice, you have 48 hours to remove your belongings and vacate the premises. The moving company outside can assist you for a fee, or you can make your own arrangements. But in 48 hours, if you're still here, law enforcement will be involved. He handed another document to Kevin. This is also notice that Mrs. Chen will no longer be making mortgage payments on this property. The responsibility falls to you as co-signer. If you fail to make payments, the bank will foreclose. Additionally, utility services will be disconnected tomorrow morning. You'll need to set up new accounts in your own names at your new address. Kevin stared at the document. Mom, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Where are we supposed to go? We don't have money saved for a deposit, for first and last month's rent. We can't just. You've been living here for 5 years rent-free, I said. You should have been saving. That's not my problem. Brittany found her voice, anger replacing shock. This is insane. You can't just kick us out. We're family. Family, I repeated. Family doesn't mock each other. Family doesn't lie about who's supporting who. Family doesn't call each other burdens and laugh about it with friends. I said I didn't mean it, but you did. You've meant it for years. I've seen it in every eye roll, every sigh, every time you've criticized my cooking or told me I'm in the way. You've just never said it out loud before, not in front of witnesses. I gestured to her friends. These ladies heard you. They laughed with you. They know exactly how you feel about me. And now they know exactly what the situation really was. Who was actually being generous? Who was actually being supported? The friends wouldn't make eye contact, just stared at their laps, mortified. One of the moving company workers knocked on the open door. "Ma'am, where would you like us to start?" Mr. Patterson looked at me. I nodded. "You can begin with the master bedroom," I said. "Pack everything that belongs to Kevin and Brittany Chen, clothing, personal items, everything." Wait. Brittany shrieked. "You can't do this. We need time. We need to find a place." "You have 48 hours," Mr. Patterson said calmly. "That's more than legally required." "Kevin!" Brittany turned to him desperately. "Do something. Call someone. This is your mother. Make her stop." Kevin looked at me, really looked at me. For the first time in years, I think he actually saw me. Not as his mother, not as a fixture in the background, but as a person he'd wronged, used, disrespected. "Mom," he said quietly, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have stood up for you. Should have told Brittany the truth. Should have. I'm sorry." "I know you are," I replied, "but sorry doesn't fix 5 years. Sorry doesn't undo the lies. Sorry doesn't erase this morning. Can we, can we talk about this? Please, just you and me?" I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say yes, wanted to sit down with my son and try to salvage something, find a way forward. But another part, the part that had been hurt and diminished and taken for granted for 5 years, said no. Enough talking, time for action, time for consequences. "We can talk," I said, "after you move out, after you and Brittany find your own place, after you've had time to think about what you did, what you let happen. Then we can talk." "But where are we supposed to go?" "Brittany's parents, a friend, a hotel." "I don't know, you're adults. Figure it out." The moving company workers were already upstairs. I could hear them moving around, opening closets, packing boxes. Brittany started crying, not sad crying, angry crying. "This is so unfair. You're punishing me for one comment, one stupid comment." "No," I corrected. "I'm responding to 5 years of disrespect. This morning was just the last straw." "But we have nowhere to go." "You should have thought of that before you called me an old woman who cooks terrible food. Before you told your friends you can't stand me. Before you made me feel like a burden in my own home." Brave Ashley spoke up. "Mrs. Chen, I'm really sorry. About laughing, about everything. We didn't know. Brittany told us." "I know what Brittany told you," I said. "That's not your fault. But now you know the truth. I hope you'll think twice before mocking someone's cooking in their own home." The friends nodded, murmured apologies, started gathering their things. They clearly wanted to leave, to escape this situation that had gone from fun gossip session to courtroom drama. "You can go," I told them. "This doesn't concern you." They practically ran for the door, said goodbye to Brittany, promised to call later. In that way, that means they definitely won't call, and left. Now it was just me, Kevin, Brittany, Mr. Patterson, and two moving company workers upstairs, packing my son's life into boxes. Brittany slumped on the couch, face in her hands, crying. Kevin stood awkwardly, didn't know whether to comfort his wife or plead with his mother. "Mom," he tried again, "I know I messed up. I know I should have been honest with Brittany from the start, should have set boundaries, should have defended you, but please, please don't do this. We're family." "We are," I agreed. "And maybe someday we'll repair our relationship, but not today. Not while you're still living in my house. Not while Brittany's still pretending she's doing me a favor. I'll talk to her. I'll make her understand." "Kevin, she's your wife. You should have made her understand 5 years ago. You should have told her the truth. You should have said, Mom owns this house. We're living here as guests. Treat her with respect. But you didn't. You let her believe a lie. You let her treat me like charity. And now, here we are. He had nothing to say to that, because it was true. All of it. The moving company workers came downstairs with boxes. Where do you want these, ma'am? I pointed to the front porch. Stack them outside. They'll make arrangements for transport. Brittany looked up, mascara running down her face. You're really doing this. You're really kicking us out. Yes. We'll be homeless. You'll figure it out. Kevin makes $70,000 a year. You make 55. You have income. You have options. You just don't have my house anymore. She stared at me, like she was seeing me for the first time, like the little old lady who cooked terrible food had suddenly transformed into something else, something with teeth. I can't believe you're being this cruel, she said. Cruel? I almost laughed. Brittany, I've been paying your bills for 5 years. I've cooked your meals, cleaned your messes, existed quietly in the corner while you lived your life in my space. And when you finally showed your true feelings this morning, when you mocked me and said you couldn't stand me, I simply responded. That's not cruelty, that's consequence. But, no buts. You have 48 hours. Use them wisely. Mr. Patterson checked his watch. It's now 12:15 p.m. on Tuesday, September 24th. You have until 12:15 p.m. on Thursday, September 26th to vacate. I'll return then with law enforcement to ensure compliance. He handed Kevin a business card. If you have questions, call my office. Otherwise, I'll see you Thursday. And he left. Just walked out. Professional, efficient, done. The moving company workers kept coming. Boxes, suitcases, clothes on hangers, 5 years of accumulation, being packed and stacked on my front porch. I stood in my living room, watched my son and daughter-in-law scramble, make phone calls, Brittany crying, Kevin trying to figure out logistics. Part of me felt bad. Part of me wanted to say, never mind, stay, we'll work it out. But I didn't. Because that's what I'd been doing for 5 years, giving in, accommodating, putting their comfort above my dignity. Not anymore. By 2 p.m., most of their belongings were packed. The moving company workers left. Kevin had called a storage unit company, made arrangements to store their things temporarily. Brittany's parents had agreed to let them stay for a few days, just until they found an apartment. Her mother had been confused. Why are you leaving? I thought Kevin owned that house. Brittany hadn't answered, just cried harder. They loaded their cars, trip after trip, carrying boxes, loading the trunk, the back seat, making multiple trips to the storage facility. By 6 p.m., they were mostly done. Just a few last things. Toiletries, final clothes, photos from the wall. Kevin approached me. I was in the kitchen, making myself tea. For the first time in 5 years, making tea in my own kitchen without worrying about being in someone's way. Mom, he said, I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. I love you. You know that, right? I looked at him. My son, my only child, the boy I'd raised, the man who'd let his wife disrespect me for years, the person who'd lied about who owned the house rather than admit his mother was supporting him. I know you love me, I said, but love isn't enough. Not when it comes with disrespect, not when it comes with lies, not when it comes with being taken for granted. Can I call you once we're settled? Give it time, Kevin. Give yourself time to think about what happened, what you let happen, and when you're ready, really ready to have an honest conversation, then call. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm really, really sorry. I know. He left. Went back to help Brittany with the last boxes. By 7:30 p.m., they were gone, cars packed, headed to Brittany's parents' house, leaving me alone in my house for the first time in 5 years. I locked the door behind them, walked through the rooms, my living room, my kitchen, my dining room, my house. No more tiptoeing, no more apologizing for existing, no more being called the old woman who couldn't cook. Just me, in my space, on my terms. I made dinner, a proper dinner, salmon with herbs, roasted vegetables, a glass of wine, sat at my dining room table, the full table not squeezed into the corner, and ate slowly, savoring. The house was quiet, peaceful mine. That night I slept in the master bedroom, my bedroom, the room I'd given to Kevin and Brittany 5 years ago, the room I was taking back. The bed was bigger, the view was better, everything was better. I slept 10 hours straight, best sleep I'd had in years. The next morning, Wednesday, I got a call from Kevin. Mom, Brittany's parents want to know why we left. What should I tell them? Tell them the truth, which is that you've been living in my house for 5 years, that I paid all the bills, that Brittany didn't know, and when she found out, I decided I'd had enough. Tell them the truth, Kevin. Silence. I don't know if I can do that. Then that's your problem. But I'm not keeping secrets anymore. I'm not protecting you from the consequences of your choices. He hung up. Thursday came. 12:15 p.m. Right on schedule, Mr. Patterson arrived with a police officer, just in case. But Kevin and Brittany were gone, had taken everything, left the keys on the kitchen counter. Mr. Patterson did a walkthrough, confirmed the property was vacated, had me sign some documents. And that was that. Legally, officially, completely, my house was mine again. Over the next few weeks, I heard through the grapevine mutual friends, Kevin's aunt, what happened. Kevin and Brittany stayed with her parents for 2 weeks. Awkward, tense. Brittany had to explain why they had left Kevin's house. Had to admit it was never Kevin's house, that I'd been supporting them. Her parents were disappointed. You let us believe you were helping her. You let us think you were being generous. Why would you lie about that? No good answer to that. They found an apartment, small, expensive, had to sign a year lease, had to pay first month, last month, security deposit, cleaned out their savings. The apartment was in a bad part of town, loud, cramped. Nothing like my spacious house. Brittany hated it, started resenting Kevin. This is your fault. If you'd just been honest with me from the start, we could have been saving. We could have been prepared. Kevin started resenting her back. If you'd just been nice to my mom, we'd still be there. Their relationship deteriorated, fighting, blaming, regretting. Meanwhile, I thrived. I redecorated, changed things back to how I liked them, got rid of Brittany's awful modern furniture, brought back my comfortable pieces from storage. I had friends over, dinner parties, book club meetings, things I couldn't do when I was living as a guest. I cooked whatever I wanted, ate when I wanted, lived on my own schedule. I was happier than I'd been in years, free, independent, dignified. 3 months after the eviction, Kevin called. Mom, can we meet? I need to talk to you. We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. He looked tired, older, stressed. How are you? I asked. Honestly, not great. The apartment is terrible. Work is stressful. Brittany and I are fighting constantly. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? He smiled sadly. Or are you thinking I deserve it? Both, I admitted. I'm sorry you're struggling, but yes, I think there are consequences you needed to face. He nodded. You were right about everything. I shouldn't have lied to Brittany, shouldn't have let her treat you that way, shouldn't have taken advantage of your generosity. No, you shouldn't have. Can you forgive me? I thought about it. Eventually, but not yet. I need time. You need time. We both need to process what happened. Can we rebuild our relationship? Maybe, if you're willing to be honest, to respect me, to acknowledge what you did. I am. I want to be better. I want to be the son you deserved all along. Then start now. Be honest with yourself, with Brittany, with everyone. We talked for an hour. It wasn't easy. There were tears, apologies, hard truths, but it was a start. 6 months after the eviction, Kevin called again. Mom, Brittany and I are separating. I wasn't surprised. I'm sorry. Don't be. We got married too young. For the wrong reasons and the stress of everything. It just exposed the cracks. How are you handling it? Better than I expected. I think I needed this. Needed to be on my own. Figure out who I am without someone else's opinion dictating my choices. That's very mature. I learned from the best, eventually. Another few months passed. Kevin and Brittany divorced. She moved to Portland, took a new job, started over. Kevin got his own place, a small studio. Nothing fancy, but his, paid for by him, no one else. He called me weekly, visited monthly. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt our relationship. Not the same as before, different, better, based on honesty, respect, real love, not obligatory love. A year after the eviction, Kevin asked, "Did you regret it? Kicking us out?" "No," I said honestly. "Best decision I made. Taught you responsibility. Taught me self-respect. We both needed it." "I'm glad," he said, "because I don't regret it either. I regret what I did, how I treated you. But the eviction, that was the wake-up call I needed." 2 years later, Kevin met someone new. Emma, a kind woman, respectful, genuine. When he introduced us, the first thing Emma said was, "Mrs. Chen, I've heard so much about you. Kevin says you make the best pancakes. I'd love to learn your recipe." I liked her immediately. They got engaged, small wedding, simple. He asked me to be there. At the reception, Kevin gave a speech. "I want to thank my mom for teaching me, sometimes the hard way, about respect, honesty, and consequences. I wasn't a good son, but she never stopped being a good mother, even when she had to be a tough one." Everyone applauded. I cried. Happy tears. Emma and Kevin visit me often. We have dinner. They bring wine. She compliments my cooking. Genuinely, they don't live with me. They have their own place, pay their own bills, stand on their own feet. And when they visit, it's because they want to. Not because they're obligated. Not because they're using me. Because they love me. Real love. The kind that comes with respect. 3 years after the eviction, I ran into Brittany at a grocery store. She was alone, looked different, thinner, tired. "Hi, Margaret," she said quietly. "Hello, Brittany?" Awkward pause. "I've wanted to say something for a long time," she continued. "I'm sorry for everything, for how I treated you, for what I said, for taking advantage. I was young and stupid and entitled, and you didn't deserve any of it." I studied her face. She meant it, I could tell. "Thank you," I said. "I appreciate that. Are you doing well?" "Very well." "Good. You deserve that." She started to walk away, stopped, turned back. "For what it's worth, you were right. About everything. I needed that wake-up call. And even though it was humiliating and painful, it made me a better person. I'm glad." And I was. Not vindictively glad. Just glad that something good came from something painful. Now I'm 70 years old. Living in my house. My beautiful, peaceful house. Surrounded by friends, visited by family who actually values me. Cooking meals that people genuinely enjoy. And every time I make pancakes, which is often because they really are quite good, I think about that Tuesday morning 3 years ago, when my daughter-in-law mocked me, called me the old woman who couldn't cook, said she couldn't stand me in front of her friends, in my house. And I think about the 2 hours after that, when I made 3 phone calls, set my world right, chose dignity over accommodation, best 2 hours of my life. But let me tell you more about those 5 years, because people ask. They ask how it got so bad, how I let it go on so long, how I didn't see what was happening. The truth is, I did see. I just made excuses, like people do when they love someone, when they want to believe the best, when they're afraid of being alone. Year one wasn't bad, right after Frank died. Kevin and Brittany were kind, supportive, helpful. Brittany cooked with me. We'd make dinner together. She'd ask about my recipes, seemed genuinely interested. "This is so good, Mom," she'd say. "Can you teach me how you make this?" I was flattered, hopeful, thinking maybe I'd finally have the daughter I'd always wanted. But then year two started. Small changes, subtle shifts. Brittany stopped cooking with me, started ordering takeout. "I'm too tired tonight, Mom. Can you handle dinner?" I'd handle dinner, cook for three. She'd eat a few bites, push the plate away. "I'm not that hungry," Kevin would eat. Compliment the food, but not defend it when Brittany wrinkled her nose. By year three, the mask was fully off. Brittany would openly criticize. "This chicken is dry, Mom. Did you use a timer?" "The pasta is mushy. You cooked it too long." "Why do you always use so much salt?" I'd adjust, make it the way she wanted. She'd find something else wrong. Kevin would say nothing. Just eat. Pretend the tension didn't exist. One night, this was maybe 18 months before the eviction, Brittany had her parents over for dinner. I'd cooked pot roast, vegetables, mashed potatoes, gravy, a full meal. Brittany's mother took one bite, made a face. "Is this lean meat? It's very tough." Brittany jumped in. "Mom makes everything super lean. She's on some weird health kick." I wasn't on a health kick. I'd cooked it the exact same way I'd been cooking pot roast for 40 years. Frank had loved it. Kevin had grown up on it. But I said nothing, let Brittany's lie stand. After dinner, I heard them in the living room. Brittany's father asking Kevin, "How long is your mom going to be staying with you? Not that we mind, just curious." Kevin, "I'm not sure. She's comfortable here. I don't think she can afford her own place." Brittany's mother, "That must be hard, supporting another adult, financially." Kevin, "We manage. Mom helps out where she can." I was doing dishes, listening, hands shaking, helps out where she can. I was paying the mortgage, the utilities, buying all the groceries, and Kevin was telling his in-laws I helped out where I could. I almost confronted him that night, almost sat him down and said, "We need to talk about this lie you're living." But I didn't, because I was afraid. Afraid he'd choose Brittany, afraid I'd be alone, afraid of the truth. Year four was worse. Brittany got more comfortable, more entitled, started treating me like hired help. "Mom, can you do my laundry? I'm so busy with work." "Mom, can you clean the bathrooms? I don't have time." "Mom, we're having friends over Friday. Can you make yourself scarce? Maybe go to a movie or something?" Make myself scarce. In my own house. Kevin would apologize later. "I'm sorry, Mom. Brittany's just stressed. Work is intense. She doesn't mean to be rude." But she did mean it, and he knew it, and we both pretended otherwise. One incident stands out. About 6 months before the final breakfast, I'd made lasagna. From scratch, ricotta filling, homemade sauce, the works. It took me all afternoon. Brittany invited friends over without telling me, 4 couples. Suddenly 9 people for dinner instead of 3. I stretched the lasagna, made a big salad, garlic bread, managed to feed everyone. One of the friends, a woman named Kara, said, "This is delicious. Brittany, you're such a good cook." Brittany smiled, accepted the compliment. "Thanks. I've been working on my Italian recipes." I stood in the kitchen doorway, heard her take credit for my work, watched Kevin say nothing. Kara saw me. "Oh, did you help Mrs. Chen?" Brittany quickly. "Mom helped with the prep work, chopping vegetables, that kind of thing." "Helped with prep work. I'd made the entire meal. Kevin caught my eye, looked away, ashamed but not ashamed enough to correct his wife. That night I cried. First time in years, sat in my little guest room and cried. For my dead husband, for my spineless son, for myself. And decided nothing, did nothing, continued on. Because what was my alternative? I didn't have friends I could stay with. Frank and I had been a unit. When he died, most of our social circle drifted away. Couples don't know what to do with a widow. I had some money saved, but not enough to buy another house. Rent in Seattle was expensive. I'd be using my savings just to live. No security, no safety net. And I loved Kevin, despite everything. He was my son, my only child. I didn't want to be estranged, didn't want to lose him. So I stayed and swallowed my pride and told myself it wasn't that bad, that I was being overly sensitive, that this was normal family friction. But year 5 broke me. It wasn't just the cooking comments, it was everything. The way Brittany would change the channel when I was watching TV. Oh, sorry, Mom, but I can't stand this show. The way she'd rearrange my things. I moved your books, Mom. They looked cluttered on the shelf. The way she'd talk about me like I wasn't in the room. Kevin, your mom left dishes in the sink again. Can you talk to her? I was right there, 10 feet away. She could have asked me directly, but she didn't, because in her mind, I was a problem to be managed, not a person to be respected. The final straw came building up over weeks. Little comments, little digs, building to that Tuesday morning. The week before, Brittany had redecorated the kitchen, moved all my cooking things, put them in high cabinets I couldn't reach without a stool. It looks better this way, she'd said when I asked why. More minimalist. Translation, I don't want to see your things. 3 days before the breakfast, she'd thrown away my favorite mixing bowl, the one Frank had bought me for our first anniversary. Ceramic, hand-painted, irreplaceable. Oh, sorry, Mom, it was chipped. I thought it was trash. It wasn't chipped. It was perfect. She'd thrown it away because she didn't like it, because it was mine and she wanted it gone. 2 days before the breakfast, Kevin came to me. Mom, Brittany and I were talking. We think maybe you should start looking for your own place, like an apartment or a senior living community or something. My heart stopped. You want me to move out? Not want, but maybe it would be good for you. Independence, your own space. This is my space. This is my house. He looked uncomfortable. Technically, yes, but Mom, we've been living here 5 years. It's become our home too, and Brittany feels like she can't fully relax with you always here. Can't fully relax in my house that I owned, that I paid for. Does Brittany know this is my house? I asked quietly. Kevin hesitated. She knows you're on the deed, but she thinks it's like a formality. From when Dad was alive, she doesn't really understand the financial side. Because you lied to her. I didn't lie, I just didn't correct her assumptions. That's lying, Kevin. Mom, please, can we just look at some apartments, see what's out there? I could have told him then. Could have said, no, Kevin, you and Brittany are going to look for your own place because this is my house and I'm staying. But I didn't. I said, I'll think about it. And I went to my room and I cried again. And I decided, one more chance. If things don't improve, I'm done, but one more chance. That was Monday night. Tuesday morning came. The breakfast, the mockery, the laughter, the final insult. And I was done giving chances. Those 2 hours in my room between the breakfast and the truck were the clearest I'd thought in 5 years, maybe in my whole life. I sat on my bed, made my calls, and felt powerful, in control, like I was finally standing up for myself. When Mr. Patterson arrived with the eviction notice, I felt no guilt, no hesitation, just relief. Finally, finally, someone was going to enforce consequences. Finally, Brittany was going to learn she wasn't the center of the universe. Finally, Kevin was going to face what he'd enabled. The 48 hours after the truck arrived were chaos. Brittany called her mother, crying, hysterical. "She's kicking us out. Kevin's mom is evicting us. Can you believe it?" I could hear her mother on speakerphone. "Wait, what? I thought Kevin owned that house?" "I thought so too, but apparently it's hers. He lied to me for 5 years." "Oh, honey, where are you going to go?" "I don't know. Can we stay with you?" "Of course, but just temporarily. Your father and I don't have space long term." Brittany to Kevin. "This is your fault. You should have told me. You should have been honest." Kevin defensive. "You should have been nice to my mother." Brittany. "I was nice. I let her live here." Kevin. "It's her house. She let us live here." It was satisfying watching them turn on each other, watching the lies unravel, watching reality crash in. Kevin's aunt, my sister-in-law Linda, called me that evening. "Margaret, what's going on? Kevin's cousin just told me you evicted him." I did. "Why? What happened?" I told her. Everything. The 5 years, the lies, the disrespect, the breakfast incident that broke me. Linda was silent for a long moment. Then, "Good for you." "What?" "Good for you. I've been watching this happen, watching Kevin take advantage, watching Brittany treat you like help. I kept waiting for you to say something, stand up for yourself. I'm glad you finally did." "You think I did the right thing?" "Absolutely. Kevin needed this. He's been coasting, thinking he can lie and manipulate and face no consequences. Maybe this will teach him." That conversation helped. Knowing someone supported me, believed I was right, validated my choice. Over the 48 hours, they packed, argued, made arrangements. Brittany was on the phone constantly, calling friends, calling family, telling her version of events. Some people called me, Brittany's friends, even some of Kevin's friends, asking my side. I told them the truth. Simple, direct, no dramatics, just facts. The house is mine. I paid all the bills. They lived rent-free for 5 years. Brittany didn't know because Kevin lied. When I got tired of being disrespected in my own home, I asked them to leave. Most people understood. Some took Brittany's side. "You're punishing her for one comment. That's extreme." But one comment wasn't the problem. 5 years of disrespect was the problem. That one comment was just the trigger. Thursday at noon, Mr. Patterson returned with Officer Ramirez, just in case Kevin and Brittany refused to leave. They didn't refuse. They were already gone, had left early that morning, didn't even say goodbye. Kevin had left a note on the kitchen counter. Just one line. "I'm sorry, Mom." I read it, felt nothing, no sadness, no regret, no second-guessing. Just peace. Officer Ramirez walked through the house, confirmed it was empty, signed some paperwork. "You did the right thing, ma'am. Standing up for yourself." "Thank you." Mr. Patterson stayed after the officer left. Sat at my kitchen table. Had coffee. "How are you feeling?" "Good, really good." "No second thoughts?" "None." "You might get pushback from Kevin, from his family, from mutual friends. People will have opinions about what you did." "Let them. I know the truth. That's enough." He smiled. "You're stronger than I thought, Margaret." "I'm stronger than I thought, too." The first week alone was strange. The house felt too big, too quiet. I'd gotten used to noise, to people, to the chaos of Kevin and Brittany's life. Now it was just me, in all this space, with all this silence. I almost called Kevin, almost said, "Come back, we'll work it out." But I didn't, because I knew it wouldn't work out. Knew that without real consequences, nothing would change. So I sat with the silence, learned to enjoy it, started to thrive in it. By the second week, I was redecorating, getting rid of Brittany's changes, bringing back my things from storage, making the house mine again. I repainted the living room. The color Brittany had chosen, gray, was depressing. I went back to warm beige, cozy, inviting. I rearranged the furniture, brought back Frank's favorite chair, the one Brittany had relegated to the garage because it was too old-fashioned. I filled the space with photos of Frank, of Kevin as a child, of our family trips, our history, my history. By the third week, I had friends over, people I'd lost touch with during the 5 years, women from my book club, neighbors I'd stopped socializing with because Brittany made me feel like I should stay in my room when she had guests. They came, brought wine, complimented the house. "It looks like you again," one friend said. "It looks like home." It was home, finally. By the fourth week, Kevin called. "Mom, can we talk?" We met at the coffee shop. He looked terrible, like he'd aged 5 years in 1 month. "How are you?" I asked. "Miserable. The apartment is awful. Brittany and I fight constantly. I hate my life." "I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you glad?" "Both, Kevin. Both." He nodded. Expected that answer. "I've been thinking a lot," he said, "about what I did, what I let happen, and I've realized I was a coward. Yes, I should have told Brittany the truth from the start, should have set boundaries, should have defended you, but I didn't, because I was afraid of conflict, afraid of Brittany getting mad, afraid of having to choose. And when you did choose, you chose her. I chose wrong. I chose comfort over character. I chose avoiding a fight over doing the right thing, and I lost you because of it. You didn't lose me, Kevin. I'm still here, but our relationship has to change. Has to be based on honesty, on respect, not on me accommodating your lies. I understand. What can I do to fix this? Start by being honest with Brittany, with her family, with everyone who believed your lies. Tell them the truth. Own what you did. That's going to be humiliating. Yes, it is, but that's the cost of lying for 5 years. He thought about it. Okay, I'll do it. And he did. Over the next few weeks, Kevin started telling the truth, called Brittany's parents, explained that the house had always been mine, that he'd lied, that he'd let them believe he was supporting me when it was the opposite. Brittany's parents were shocked, disappointed. Why would you lie about something like that? Kevin had no good answer, just apologies. He told his friends, his co-workers, anyone who'd heard Brittany's version of events, corrected the record, embarrassed himself, owned his mistake. It was painful for him, I know it was, but it was necessary. You don't undo 5 years of lies without discomfort. Brittany, meanwhile, was furious, not at Kevin for lying, at me for exposing the lie. She humiliated us, she told anyone who'd listen, made us look like fools, kicked us out with nowhere to go. Some people believed her, felt sorry for her, thought I was cruel, but more people, once they heard the full story, understood. Wait, so you were living in her house, and she paid all the bills, and you called her a burden? Yeah, I'd have kicked you out too. Brittany didn't like that, didn't like being the villain in the story, but that's what happens when you mock someone in their own home, when you take advantage of generosity and call it charity. 3 months after the eviction, Brittany's friends, the ones from that Tuesday morning breakfast, reached out to me. Ashley sent a text. "Mrs. Chen, I've been thinking about that morning, about what we did. I'm so sorry. It was cruel, and we should have known better. I hope you can forgive us." I texted back, "I appreciate that. I hold no grudge against you. You didn't know the situation. But maybe next time think twice before laughing at someone's cooking in their own home." I will. I definitely will. The other friends sent similar messages. apologizing, explaining that Brittany had lied to them, told them the house was Kevin's, that I was living there as a charity case. We thought we were supporting our friend, one wrote. We didn't know we were participating in bullying. I forgave them. They were young, naive, led astray by someone they trusted. Not their fault. Brittany herself never apologized. Not in those first 6 months. She was too angry, too defensive, too convinced she was the victim. Kevin told me she was talking to a lawyer, trying to see if she could sue me for wrongful eviction or emotional distress. The lawyer laughed her out of the office. Ma'am, you were living in someone else's property, rent-free. They have every right to ask you to leave. You have no case. That deflated her. Finally, realizing she couldn't bully her way out of consequences, couldn't manipulate the legal system the way she'd manipulated people. 6 months after the eviction, Kevin announced he wanted a divorce. I can't do this anymore, Mom. Every fight comes back to you. To the eviction. She blames me. I blame her. We're toxic together. I'm sorry, Kevin. Don't be. This is the best thing. We should never have gotten married. We wanted different things, had different values. I just didn't see it until everything fell apart. The divorce took 6 months, not contentious. They had almost nothing to divide. No house, no significant assets, just some furniture and a car each. Brittany moved to Portland, took a job there, started over in a new city, away from the embarrassment, the gossip, the story of how she'd mocked her mother-in-law and gotten evicted. Kevin stayed in Seattle, got his own apartment, smaller than the one they'd shared. But his, truly his, paid for by him, no lies, no pretense. He visited me once a month. We'd have dinner, talk, slowly rebuild trust, slowly learn who we were to each other now. Not the same as before. Better, more honest, more real. 1 year after the eviction, Kevin brought Emma to meet me. Mom, this is Emma, my girlfriend. Emma was lovely, 36, a teacher, kind eyes, genuine smile. Mrs. Chen, it's so nice to meet you. Kevin's told me so much about you. All bad, I'm sure, I joked. Actually, all good. He talks about how you taught him accountability, how you showed him the importance of honesty, how you're the strongest person he knows. I looked at Kevin. He smiled. It's true, Mom, you are. Emma and I got along immediately. She asked about my life, my interests, my hobbies, actually listened to the answers. When I cooked dinner, she complimented it genuinely. This is delicious. Would you mind sharing the recipe? Not mocking, not fake, just real appreciation. After dinner, Kevin pulled me aside. What do you think? I like her. Really? Really? She's kind, respectful, authentic. Everything Brittany wasn't. He nodded. I learned my lesson. I know what to look for now. What matters? Good. 2 years after the eviction, Kevin and Emma got engaged. Small wedding, just family and close friends. At a beautiful venue overlooking the Sound. Kevin asked me to say something at the reception. I wasn't prepared, hadn't planned a speech, but I stood up, looked at Kevin and Emma, at their happy faces, at their future. And I spoke from the heart. When Kevin was born, I made a promise to him, to always love him, to always support him, to always be there, and I kept that promise, even when it was hard, even when he made mistakes, even when he hurt me. But 2 years ago, I realized something. Love doesn't mean accepting disrespect. Support doesn't mean enabling lies. Being there doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity. So I did something hard. I enforced consequences. I made Kevin face what he'd done, what he'd allowed to happen, and it was painful for both of us. But it was necessary, because real love requires real accountability. Real support requires real honesty. And being there for someone sometimes means letting them fall so they can learn to stand on their own. Kevin learned. He grew. He became the man I always knew he could be, the man standing here today, honest, accountable, worthy of a woman like Emma. Emma, you're getting a good man, not a perfect man, but a man who's learned from his mistakes, who knows the value of honesty and respect, who will never take you for granted. And Kevin, you're getting a good woman, a woman who will stand by you, support you, love you, but who will also expect honesty and respect in return. I'm proud of both of you, and I'm excited to watch your life together, your real life, built on truth. Everyone applauded. Kevin cried. Emma hugged me. Thank you, she whispered, for raising such a good man, even when it was hard. Thank you for loving him, I whispered back, for seeing who he really is. That wedding was healing, closure, proof that the hard choice I'd made 2 years ago had been right, had led to this, to Kevin being happy, to Kevin being healthy, to Kevin being whole. 3 years after the eviction, I ran into Brittany at the grocery store. I almost didn't recognize her. She'd lost weight, looked tired, different. Margaret, she said quietly. Brittany. We stood in the produce section. Awkward. Years of history between us, years of hurt, anger, resentment. How are you? She finally asked. Good, very good. And you? Better, different. I'm in therapy, working on a lot. That's good. I've wanted to say something for a long time. She took a breath. I'm sorry for everything, for how I treated you, for what I said, for taking advantage of your generosity. I was young and stupid and selfish, and you didn't deserve any of it. I studied her face. She meant it, really meant it. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Kevin told me you helped him, that evicting us was the wake-up call he needed, that it made him a better person. It made you a better person, too, from the sound of it. She smiled sadly. It did. Eventually, after a lot of pain and therapy and self-reflection. But yes, I'm better now. More grateful, more aware, less entitled. I'm glad. Are you happy? She asked. Very. Good, you deserve that. She started to walk away, stopped, turned back. For what it's worth, your cooking was never terrible. I was threatened by you, by your relationship with Kevin, by your presence in what I thought was my space. So I tore you down, made you small, so I could feel big. I understand. I'm sorry for that. If I could go back and do it differently, I would. We can't go back, only forward. Yeah, she smiled. Forward, that's good. And she left, disappeared into the aisles, out of my life for good probably. But I was glad we'd had that moment, that conversation, that closure. It proved something I'd believed but hadn't been sure of. People can change, if they want to, if they're willing to do the work, if they face consequences and learn from them. Brittany had, Kevin had, and so had I. I'd changed from a woman who accepted disrespect to a woman who demanded dignity. From someone who sacrificed herself to please others to someone who chose herself when necessary. From a quiet doormat to a person with boundaries. And it had all started with one decision, one moment of clarity, one phone call to a lawyer, 2 hours that changed everything. Now I'm 70 years old, living in my house, my beautiful, peaceful house, surrounded by friends, visited by family who actually values me, cooking meals that people genuinely enjoy. Kevin visits every week, brings Emma. Sometimes they bring their new baby. My granddaughter, Clara, named after my mother. They don't live with me. They have their own home, their own life, their own independence. And when they visit, it's because they want to, because they love me, because they value our time together, not because they're using me, Not because they're obligated, not because they have nowhere else to go. Real love, real family, real respect. And every time I make pancakes, which Clara loves, by the way, I think about that Tuesday morning 3 years ago. The morning my daughter in law mocked me, called my cooking terrible, said she couldn't stand me, in front of her friends, in my house. And I think about the 2 hours after that, when I chose myself, when I enforced consequences, when I demanded dignity. Best 2 hours of my life. People still ask if I regret it, if I was too harsh, if I overreacted. I don't, I wasn't, I didn't. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others is enforce consequences, set boundaries, demand respect, even if it means evicting your own son, even if people call you cruel, even if it causes short-term pain. Because long-term, it leads to healing, to growth, to real relationships based on truth instead of lies, to pancakes on Sunday mornings with people who actually appreciate them, to a life of dignity and peace in your own home, to freedom. And if you're someone living like I was, like a guest in your own life, accepting disrespect because you're afraid of being alone, sacrificing your dignity to keep peace, I want you to know you can make a different choice. You can enforce boundaries. You can demand better. You can choose yourself. It's never too late, whether you're 40 or 70, whether it's family or friends, whether people understand or judge. You can choose dignity, self-respect, peace, and 2 hours later, everything can change. Trust me, it's worth it. People ask if I ever regret being so harsh, kicking them out so quickly. I don't, not even a little, because sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others is enforce consequences, set boundaries, demand respect, even if it means evicting your own son, especially if it means evicting your own son. If this story resonated with you, please share it, like it, subscribe, because there are too many people out there living like guests in their own lives. Too many people being taken advantage of by people who should love them. You don't have to accept that. You can set boundaries. You can demand better. You can choose yourself, even if you're 67 years old, even if it's your own child, even if people call you cruel. You can choose dignity, self-respect, peace, and 2 hours later, you can have your house and your life back. Trust me, it's worth it.